Happy Friday the 13th, everyone. Today is October 13th, and it is Friday. I don't know why I was thinking about this idea. Friday the 13th. Something scary happening, considering we have the Halloween coming in a couple of weeks. And I was thinking to do a special. I seem to take a lot of joy in making these videos and rambling away. And I don't know why, but my mind went to Aleister Crowley and the theme, do what thou wilt and do nothing else. That's a quote from the Book of the Law. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. Love is the law. Love under will. Friday 13th has been linked with bad luck. This makes me think where I'm coming from. We had a weekday dedicated to bad things happening in threes. That was Tuesday, and it still is. I think that is more realistic. Because let's face it, people, stuff happens a lot more often than only when the 13th of the month falls on a Friday. It's more realistic, honestly. Or maybe I'm too pessimistic. I don't know. Some people have certain days when they seem to be extremely unlucky. I actually had that years and years ago. Mondays were absolutely scary to me. I got to a point when I was scared I'm gonna die on a Monday. It was that bad. And one day, out of the blue, I have decided that I need to do something about that. So I did. I started praying. I said, okay, if this is what needs to happen, or, when you obsessively think about something and you give it so much more importance than it really has, your mind is starting, your subconscious is starting to cooperate with those vibes of doom and gloom happening to you. And I think in a way, what we are doing when we do that, unknowingly, we are manifesting things. We are creators. And that is why it's so important to always be very conscious of what you're thinking, what you keep on repeating at the back of your mind. So what I decided to do at the time, I started lighting candles on Mondays and pray. I don't recall exactly what I was saying. This was years and years ago. Decades, I should say. I was in my prime. I was early 20s. Yeah. I don't recall exactly what I was saying, but I typically improvise and I just let my mind go. So I've been doing that, and then a shift happened. I was no longer scared about Mondays and me departing this planet in a horrible accident. But back to Aleister Crowley. Everything is open to interpretation, in my opinion. What does someone do with a statement? And when I say that, I mean, what's the comprehension level? What's the spin they put on an expression? To me, when I read this, it sounds really beautiful. Because love is the law. Love should be the law. I'm not sure if I agree with the next part, love under will. That looks like a loophole of some sort. Because to me, love should be unconditional. As long as it is not exploited, as long as it is not tainted by someone else's will, for instance. If I am to look at what Microsoft Bing has to say about this, actually, I'm going to quote from it. The term will has multiple meanings depending on the context. In the context of Aleister Crowley's quote, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," the word will refers to one's own desires and intentions. In general, will can refer to a person's faculty to decide on and initiate actions, or a deliberate or fixed desire or intention. It can also refer to a legal document containing instructions as to what should be done with one's money and property after one's death. So I find this very interesting because I find other interpretations, and it's not that my interpretation is the best. Everyone perceives things depending on the level they are at, the way they are looking through things. Are these concepts looked at through a prism of their own knowledge, evolution, intent, etc.? For me, in this context, will doesn't mean someone's will, because that would indicate that someone else's will is overriding yours. I like to look at things in a general way, and that's probably where I'm making a lot of mistakes in the way I'm assessing things. Because it's obvious most people or whomever is putting these interpretations on the web, they seem to imply that someone else's will interferes with your own. So what I want to say is, in essence, the actual law described in here is beautiful. Because love is the law. Love under will. So I'm thinking, if I were to write this phrase, I would think of someone's will, someone's intention, without imposing their own will on others. I don't know. It is pretty convoluted in my mind. I'm at 11 minutes 50 something seconds, and I don't know if I actually articulated what I wanted to say. That's where I always think, oh, love is tainted because people interpret love in so many different ways when it's very simple. Like Occam's razor. If you look at Wikipedia's definition of it, it says in there, popularly, the principle is sometimes inaccurately paraphrased as the simplest explanation is usually the best one. I don't know if I agree with this. Why would it be inaccurately? I mean, think about if it quacks like a duck. If it walks like a duck, then it is a duck. Unless you have an impersonator who walks like a duck and talks like a duck. I don't know. I'm just making fun of things. But to me, it's very simple. Everything is pretty simple. The more you look into analyzing something to death, you start ignoring the most obvious things. Maybe it's the ego that interferes in a situation. I don't know. I'm really getting strayed away from what I wanted to talk about here. So, William of Ockham. Entia non sunt multiplicanda praeter necessitatem, which translates as entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. Apparently, he did not use those exact words. Well, there is something to it. The bottom line is, Love should be simple and should be untainted. My takeaway here is I should not rely on the interpretation given by someone else. Because when you do that, you basically accept whatever that entity or person conveys a message, a hidden message, a hidden agenda message. I don't know why my mind goes to this expression, good luck to you. You know, when, let's say, somebody wants to hurt you in a way, and you're saying, good luck to you. You'll never, ever do that. You will not be able to do that. But I think by saying that, you're basically, in a way, giving them the right to do something. Yeah, good luck. Good luck to you. The power of the words. Even if you don't mean them, your subconscious means it. Your subconscious is the creator, has power. So I think, in my case, I will be replacing that with something else. I haven't thought what precisely I should say, but I'm avoiding to say, good luck to you. You know? I would change it to, you wish. And another expression that comes to me in my mind when people say break a leg, meaning that, again, they're wishing you good luck. So why would you say break a leg to someone? Just because the expression was given the interpretation that you're gonna do fine. In actuality, it is mean. Break a leg. Maybe my knowledge of English is too limited and I'm missing the point. Again, I encourage you to put in comments on my ramblings. Makes me feel less alone in the labyrinth of my mind, which I'm trying to map. Mark with some arrows that in the end will help me get to that exit. Exit the confusing world we're living in. I'm living in, maybe. Something tells me it's not just me. What I think the bottom line is with all this dissertation is we need to pay attention how things are being twisted and changed to a 180-degree angle from what they actually mean. So Friday 13th is not as bad. It's not bad at all. It's just a day to which people attribute the worst possible outcomes. I say, you just need to give power to what you want to embrace and reject any projections coming from manipulators, people who live in the deepest setting of their ego. Don't even know if you can say that. Just do what you will without hurting others, intentionally, unintentionally. We do live on a really high rope, balancing, trying to keep our equilibrium while the wind rages, the waves are reaching you from beneath you. That's when you need to anchor yourself in your higher self, in the truth, love, and know that you'll continue your path undeterred, regardless of what other people's will throw at you. Be safe, everyone. I love you. And take care.